The New York Mets will retire number 16 for Dwight Gooden and number 18 for Darryl Strawberry next season. I'm happy about the news, but I just got one little issue with it. Let's talk about that. Well, welcome back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm WattsUK99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. So news broke this week that the New York Mets next season in 2024 will retire the jerseys of number 16 Dwight Gooden and number 18 Darryl Strawberry, two of the most iconic Mets in the history of this franchise. Now, I grew up in the 80s and early 90s, so these were two of the first players I personally remember watching and kind of idolizing a little bit. Sadly, I can't quite remember the mid 80s. My real baseball memories start around late 87, 88, I would say. So I'm just old enough to where I can't remember 1986, unfortunately. But I believe the honor is well deserved for both players. I mean, just look at the resume. Darryl Strawberry, drafted in 1980 at a time when the Mets were in the absolute doldrums of baseball. Rookie of the Year in 1983. First career, he hit 252 home runs, had 733 RBIs as a Met. Both are still team records, although if the Mets sign number 20, if they get that done, I don't think those records are going to stand for another 2 or 3 years or so. But Darryl Strawberry made 7 straight All-Star games. Really, really impressive. Ultimately, did leave. We all know about the different issues that got in the way, but he left in free agency to go to Los Angeles, which he has acknowledged is as big a mistake as he has ever made in his career. He has even said he plans to acknowledge that mistake, and he plans to apologize for leaving during his speech when he makes it to the Mets crowd, when the jersey gets retired. I'm just really happy for Darryl, the way that he has turned his life around, how his ministry is really growing, how he's going around the country speaking to kids, to prisoners as well, and helping them the best that he can. Man, nothing but respect for him. Because, you can't kill a guy for making mistakes. There is nobody on earth who doesn't go through life, doesn't make a mistake, but it's about learning from it. That's the most important thing, and it really feels like Darryl has done that. Now, with Doc Gooden, he was drafted in 1982, Rookie of the Year in 1984. 1985, he had one of the best seasons any pitcher has ever had. Think about these numbers. I'm going to give you some numbers. Think about these numbers compared to what we see nowadays in baseball. He pitched 276 innings, 268 strikeouts. He had a 1.53 ERA. That's crazy. That's like an elite closer ERA. 24 wins and 15 complete games. Are there going to be 15 complete games in all of baseball in 2023? Do we know? But Doc was electric. Even though 84 and 85 were really his greatest seasons, and he was still good for a number of years after that, everybody you talked to who was around the Mets in those days, so those guys were like maybe 45 years old and up, watching Doc Gooden pitch was an event. It was a happening. Matt Harvey, Jacob deGrom, God bless them, fantastic pitchers, but there was like another buzz when Doc took the mound for the Mets. And the fact that he also let the Mets went on to other teams, it doesn't diminish that. I think both of these players will be identified as Mets for the rest of their careers. Even though they won championships in other cities. Of course, Doc pitched the no-hitter for the Yankees against Seattle in 1996. And I got to tell you, I remember watching that game live, and I was happy for him. It didn't matter. I didn't care that he did it with the Yankees or the San Francisco Giants or the Yomiuri Giants in Japan. I was just really happy that Doc had come back from a whole lot of adversity. But the one thing that's a little bit difficult for me is that it took this long, and I think about how many other players have worn both of these jerseys. Now, ultimately, in the long run, 20, 30 years from now, those names will probably be forgotten, and Doc and Darryl will be associated with these numbers. But Doc last pitched for the Mets, I believe it was in 1994, all right, almost 30 years ago. Since then, 16 different Mets have worn 16, ironically. I'm going to run through them quickly. Hideo Nomo, Derek Bell, David Cohn, Doug Mankiewicz, Paul LaDuca, Angel Pagan, Rob Johnson, Rick Ankiel, Daisuke Matsuzaka, Danny Muno, Dilson Herrera, Alejandro De Aza, Kevin Kazmarski, Austin Jackson, Jake Marisnik, and most recently, Travis Jankowski in 2022. And then you look at the number 18, it's even worse. There's about 20 names. Darryl left in 1990 to go to the Dodgers. Since then, the Mets had these players wear number 18. Brett Saberhagen, Jeff McKnight, Jeff Barry, Kevin Robertson, Takashi Kashiwada. I was just looking for an excuse to make a video where I could say the name Takashi Kashiwada. Craig Paquette, Todd Haney, Darryl Hamilton, rest his soul, Jeff D'Amico, Art Howe, Marlon Anderson, Jose Valentin, Moises Alou, Jeremy Reed, Ryota Igarashi, Tim Tuffle, Travis Darno, Rajay Davis, Ryan Cordell, Jose Peraza, and in 2022, Nick Plummer. So the fact that it did take this long, it just feels a little bit weird when you see the number being passed around like a joint on the corner of Haight and Ashbury in the 60s. And yeah, it just kind of dulls it down for me a little bit. Because for me, there's just a difference when the number literally gets taken out of circulation after the player stops playing and then it gets retired, as opposed to this situation where 30 different guys have worn these numbers. It's a little bit of a blow. Now, I know with the previous administration, with the previous owners, they have this philosophy, allegedly, of only retiring players' jerseys who were in the Hall of Fame. I guess Gil Hodges was the exception because he didn't make the Hall of Fame till 2 years ago. So I don't quite think that was what it was really all about. But for years, there were only a few numbers on the board at Shea Stadium. You'd have 14 for Gil Hodges, 41 for Tom Seaver, 37 for Casey Stengel. That was it. Then you'd see the Shea, the sign that said Shea for Bill Shea, who helped bring the National League Baseball back to New York. Then eventually you got to Mike Piazza, and now we've had several more players ever since Steve Cohen took over. Now you've got Jerry Koosman up there. You've got Willie Mays up there. You've got a couple of announcers as well. And you know what? If you're going to change the standard, like you did, put it this way, if you're going to retire Jerry Koosman's number, if you're going to retire Willie Mays' number, and Willie Mays was one of the greatest players ever, but only a Met for a few seasons, then yes, you absolutely have to retire 16 and 18 to go with it. I just wish they'd taken the jerseys out of circulation. That's just my one beef with it. Oh, by the way, I will say one more thing. I did get to meet Doc on my birthday one year in Chicago at a signing convention, and I talked with him for 5 minutes, and he was telling me stories about Money Dykstra. And yes, super down to earth, super approachable, so I feel very fortunate that I got to meet Doc. I hope I get to meet Darryl one day too. Well, thanks everybody for watching this video. Remember, we go live Wednesday nights, every Wednesday night at 10 p.m., so come on by and check out that show. And please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Want to grow this channel, want to get out to as many people as possible. But thank you again, everybody, for watching, and I'll see you right back here with more content from you know where, the Wicker Chair.